Welcome to the OOV Daily Reflection for Friday, November 5th. Today's Gospel reading for the Daily Mass comes to us from the 16th chapter of St. Luke's Gospel. It reads, Jesus said to his disciples, "A rich man had a steward who was reported to him for squandering his property. He summoned him and said, 'What is this I hear about you? Prepare account of your stewardship, because you can no longer be my steward.' The steward said to himself, 'What shall I do, now that my master is taking the position of steward away from me? I'm not strong enough to dig, and I am ashamed to beg. I know what I shall do, so that, when I'm removed from the stewardship, they may welcome me into their homes.' He called in his master's debtors one by one. To the first he said, 'How much do you owe my master?' He replied, 100 measures of olive oil. He said to him, 'Here is your promissory note. Sit down and quickly write one for 50. Then he said to another, 'And you, how much do you owe?' He replied, 100 measures of wheat. He said to him, 'Here is your promissory note. Write one for 80. And the master commended that dishonest steward for acting prudently. For the children of this world are more prudent in dealing with their own generation than the children of light.'" This parable of Jesus does not make sense unless you know a few more things about the position of a steward. As I've mentioned before in the daily reflection, a steward was a position in the ancient world where someone was placed in charge of someone else's goods and possessions. And this position developed so that rich persons could do whatever they want, while the steward took care of the goods and possessions of the household and the property that was owned. And given that the steward was in charge of everything, this person had to have the trust and confidence of their master. And many times, a steward, because they were in charge of everything in someone's household, they would do many things to make themselves personally wealthy as they conducted the affairs of their masters. They'd take a cut of transactions, or they would do additional deals with their master's resources in order to make themselves wealthy. So in light of this reality, stewards were not always known for being the most honest, fair, or kind people. However, the position of steward was highly sought after, because again, this person could become extremely wealthy as a result of this position, and also it had tremendous influence. They got to speak for their master in many transactions. So with all this being said, we can now dive into today's parable. So when the steward is accused of being dishonest and taking advantage of his master, he knows that he's going to lose his job. But he also knew that he had to somehow position himself so that he would land on his feet after he lost this job, lost the position of steward. So he decided that he would undo all the things that he had in place to make himself money in the future. So this is what he did. The steward in the parable went around redoing the promissory notes so that he could get in the good favor of those who owed debt to his master, but also he was probably fixing all of the abuses that he did in regards to his master. So as it was said in the reading, it was a hope that these two actions, fixing promissory notes and then also him not getting his cut, would eventually allow him to land on his feet. So in the end, the steward undoes his sinful actions of making money off his master's business dealings, but he's not altruistic. And furthermore, he is not seen as a holy person. He's just heading towards survival. And thus even the master in today's parable said that he was prudent for doing this action in light of him losing his job. So this parable at the end of the day has Jesus telling us that we should not take advantage of others because of the effect that it can have in our lives and the lives of others. And there's always temptation there. And furthermore, a lot of times we can be shrewd business people who see opportunities, who even see opportunities to take advantage of people. But brothers and sisters, we know what Christ asks of us. He asks of us to love him and to love others. So that is what it means to be a child of the light. That again, if we are disciples of Christ, even in our business dealings, even in our positions of power, even in our interactions with those around us, we always have to apply faith. We always have to imitate Jesus Christ. And again, this may mean that many of us do not accumulate wealth and power. Many of us are not in important positions because, again, we would rather follow Christ than to be shrewd business people that truly take advantage of others and try to build up wealth immorally and against God's will. So as we look at our lives and try to understand where God is calling us, let us always remember that we are called to be children of the light, not men and women who are focused solely on gaining power, influence, and wealth. Our Lady of Victory, pray for us.